Dallas Mavericks versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's going to be a fun one. You have two of the three front runners for the MVP award in Luka Doncic and Shai Alexander going head-to-head with the winner getting a spot in the Western Conference Finals. Who has the edge in this matchup? Is it the heliocentric Luka ball 5-out Mavericks offense, or is it the fun, the up-and-coming Oklahoma City Thunder led by superstar Shai Alexander? Well, this video, we're going to dive into the film, the X's and O's, and make a prediction and talk about what are some of the things to look for, what are the keys to this series, and like I said, at the end of the video, we're going to make our predictions. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. That's a big goal by the end of the playoffs, so make sure you guys do hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get into it. One of the main things that Luka and SGA have in common, outside of them being, dominant on-ball scorers or high usage players, is the level of pace that they play with and how freaking hard it is to speed them up, or I guess and also slow them down in a sense. Like, you can't change their pace. They are going to play at their own pace, and they can do it however they want. So we go to this play. In a earlier contest between the Thunder and the Mavs, we have a ball screen, Lu Dort guarding Luka Doncic, Josh Giddey guarding Josh Green, and the Thunder are going to try to aggressively show out here, and Luka's just able to split this, and Chet Holmgren now has to come over and help. He has to come over, rotate. Luka's able to decelerate his body and play off of 1 foot. He gets Chet Holmgren up in the air, and he's able to finish through the contact and one. I think for starters, I think that Luka's ability to try to get downhill and put pressure on the rim is going to be a massive key to this series, because if Luka's able to get to the rim, I think that is a big way that they could try to get Chet Holmgren into some foul trouble. Chet Holmgren, and that is a big key I want to talk about later on in this video. Chet Holmgren was phenomenal in the first round matchup against New Orleans. But Luka's ability to put pressure on the rim, be a tough shot maker from the perimeter, is going to be a big key to Dallas winning this series because of the pace in which he plays with. I don't think there's anybody, good defenders or not, I don't think there's anybody on OKC that can slow Luka down from an effectiveness standpoint. Again, continuing on with my point about Luka's ability to decelerate and play at his own pace against the Rockets. Great action there. Maxi Kleba, just flare out to the top of the key. Luka's now able to get both his defender and the low man that's rotating over, jumping in the air with a simple ball fake. And now he's able to finish with the reverse layup. Again, when Luka's able to put pressure on the rim, he's one of the toughest players to guard in the league. Now, obviously, we know that on top of this scoring ability for Luka, we know he is one of the most generational passers in NBA history. And right now, probably the second best, if not the best playmaker in the league currently. And this is just a play that I had to highlight here. The Mavs go to their Spain pick and roll action. So they start out of a wide formation. So wide meaning it's typically going to be a wide pin down in the middle of the floor, but they reject it. So Tim Hardaway Jr., who was not able to play in this series, Tim Hardaway Jr. rejects the screen, and they're going to flow into stack or Spain pick and roll. All Spain pick and roll is ball screen with the back screen for the screener. Luka rejects it. He rejects the screen, which now forces Walker Kessler to show out and try to help stop the drive. And you're still going to have the back screen and the roll with Gapper rolling and Tim Hardaway Jr. popping to the top. Luka makes a ridiculous over-the-head pass with his right hand, and Daniel Gapper gets a wide-open dunk. Guys, I think, for one, give Dallas credit. I thought they did a great job at the deadline of adding two big pieces to this team that fit really nicely with Luka and P.J. Washington and Daniel Gapper. Daniel Gapper's ability to be an effective roll man and also be an effective rim protector. There were a bunch of plays in that Clippers series where Daniel Gafford had an impact defensively. And then they still have Derek Lively. They still have, Kyrie. Derrick Jones Jr. has been so big for this team's offense and his ability to, one, now make spot up threes, and then secondly, be able to attack off of closeouts and be that explosive above the rim finisher that this Mavericks team needs next to Luka and Kyrie. And I think when you look at this series, Ludor is probably going to get the Luka Doncic matchup. I can almost guarantee it. But what does Oklahoma City do with these Luka Doncic ball screens? We're going to talk about the Thunder ball screen defense in just a sec. But OKC showed a lot of different coverages when I went to go dive into their film. They'll drop with Chet. They are one of the five most switch heavy defenses in the NBA. So expect some switching, but I just don't know how feasible that is because I think Luka could just get to his spots at will. They've hedged, they've showed, they've blitzed the a little bit. So that's gonna be another big key to the series. How does OKC handle Luka Doncic ball screens? Because I don't think you can blitz Luka or put two on the ball with Luka. Because again, Daniel Gafford and Derrick Jones Jr., Kyrie, PJ Washington, that starting five. Daniel Gafford as a short role playmaker has actually showed really nice flashes for this Mavs offense. And I think Derrick Jones Jr.'s ability to attack closeouts, hit spot up threes. Kyrie is one of the most talented shooters of all time. And I mean, we're not even talking about the things he can do with the ball in his hands. So that's going to be a mental, brain freeze, if you will. I'm trying to keep it PG that OKC's gonna have to figure out because Luka is obviously one of the most gifted players with the ball in his hands in the league. Now, before we talk about the Thunder's ball screen defense, I feel like we got to talk about arguably the anchor of this defense. That is Chet Holmgren, who again, I feel like I've said the word generational a lot on this episode already, so I'm not going to do that here quite yet. But I think what makes Chet a special defender is just his versatility. And I do still think Chet needs to add more muscle, but I feel like that gets, overplayed. And I'm not going to like harp on that too much. But honestly, and even if you don't want Chet to add more muscle, I think they do need to add another big, but again, different topic for a different time. But Chet Holmgren's versatility and his ability to move so quickly and so fluidly is so important for this Thunder's defense. If you go to that New Orleans Pelicans round one matchup, the New Orleans Pelicans, when the closest defender to the rim was Chet Holmgren, shot 18% worse than expected at the rim when Chet Holmgren was the nearest defender at the rim, which is third best. Chet Holmgren, rather, 18% worse, rather. Third best. The only two defenders that had a bigger impact in terms of at-rim defense in the first round was Trey Murphy and Evan Mobley from the Cleveland Cavaliers. That is it. So what Chet Holmgren did in that first round was, dare I say, generational deep rim protection for a first round matchup. It was incredible to watch from Chet Holmgren. And I think this play right here is, I think, what is so special about Chet's versatility. This is very early in game one. The Thunder get a turnover off this Josh Giddey drive and attempt to kick out. Chet Holmgren running neck and neck with Herb Jones and is able to get the block simply by just using his wingspan in transition. And now the Thunder are able to go back the other way. Chet is ridiculous defensively. And now you want to stick with the same game. This is minute and 4 seconds left, tied up here. This is a rookie, by the way. This is a rookie. And what the Pelicans are going to do, they're just going to go ball screen with CJ McCollum. Also, shout out Jalen Williams, J-Dub. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good of a defender he is. He actually popped out a lot to me on film. They go ball screen, Chet in a high drop. He has to be able to recover back off this pocket pass from CJ McCollum to Larry Nance. SGA does a good job trying to help and tag on the roll and step up. So Chet immediately scrambles down to the basket. But on the step through, Chet is able to recover and get a ridiculous block at the rim. Like I said, guys, Chet Holmgren is the anchor for this defense. His versatility allows them to get more aggressive with their ball screen coverages defensively. And as a weak side rim protector, with all these guys they have that they can guard you on the perimeter, there isn't really a weak link out there on the perimeter. You have SGA, Giddey, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, J-Dub, who are all at least above average defenders. Like, that is massive for this Oklahoma City Thunder defense. I think what makes this Thunder defense special is how they are always on a string with the rotations, and they have special on-ball defenders. Obviously, Lou Dort is the big one, but Jalen Williams, J-Dub, like I mentioned earlier, doesn't get enough credit for how good of a defender he is, and his screen navigation is so fun to watch on film. Kaysen Wallace off the bench, really good defender. SGA can hold his ground. Josh Giddey is a capable defender as well. Like they have guys that can really, really just defend, and they have really made some of the best ball handlers really, really struggle. If you go to game one, I'm sorry, go to game two of this Thunder and Pelicans series. This is a great possession. So first off, I love how Jalen Williams is jamming Brandon Ingram here with this pin down. The Pelicans are trying to go with some zoom action. I think that's fairly obvious here based off the down screen and how they're set up into delay action. Delay just means 5 out. Zoom also Chicago action. A couple of just terminology pieces there. So again, Jalen Williams does a great job of jamming Brandon Ingram. So much so, look at where Brandon Ingram catches his ball at. He catches his ball at the logo essentially here, and does a great job again just being physical at the point of contact and fights through the screen to the point where now Brandon Ingram, to try to make space, has to kind of shove Jalen Williams back. Jalen Williams does sell some of the contact, but that is the appropriate call. That is an offensive foul. The Thunder really, really just do a great job of frustrating opposing players. We go to this clip here against the Timberwolves earlier in the year, and there is no Chet Holmgren on the floor. It's Jalen Williams. And all they're going to do here, they're just going to have Josh Giddey show or recover, and they're going to let Lu Dort guard Anthony Edwards one-on-one in space, and Anthony Edwards gets a turnover. He's looking for a foul. Not really sure if that was a foul there, but the combination of really, really special defenders from Oklahoma City, again, really looking at Lu Dort, Jalen Williams, and a big-time rim-protecting shot blocker in Chet Holmgren, makes this team really, really fun to watch. I mean, you got this possession too where Isaiah Joe, they try to get the switch and force the switch, get Lu Dort off of Brandon Ingram. Isaiah Joe, again, being on a string, his activity there, and they're ultimately able to get the steal. The Mavs are going to have a hard time, I think, trying to pick matchups, especially if Oklahoma City is hell-bent on keeping Lu Dort on Luka Doncic. Now, again, Luka's talented enough to just hit shots over Lu Dort. We have seen that throughout these matchups, and I think that's another thing you have to keep an eye out on in this series. Now, when discussing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's offense, I think obviously the biggest thing we want to discuss is the pace that he plays with again, right? His ability to just get to his spots seemingly at will, and he makes it look so freaking easy. But another thing you have to keep an eye out on in this series is how they really love to go guard to guard screen at the elbow, or really more so the nail. So this clip here against the Raptors, they're gonna have Isaiah Joe in the middle, just a little bit elevated from the nail, and they're gonna have him just set this go screen, pops out, and this does a great job of allowing SGA to get a downhill driving angle with somebody in the dunker spot in case you want to help off, and SGA is able to get a wide open floater on that possession. And then even if you want to go here against the Utah Jazz, again, now this time it's Aaron Wiggins. Aaron Wiggins, he just pops out once again. SGA, the crafty spin move, is able to get the shot up above the rim and knock it down. He is an incredible shot maker, and this is a really effective action, especially if Oklahoma City were to drag Luka into this action. So in this series, I expect Luka to guard either Josh Giddey or Lu Dort. That's what I would expect. And if they have him on Josh Giddey, no, I actually, let me backtrack. I expect them to put him on Lu Dort, and I expect PJ Washington to be on Chet, Daniel Gafford on Josh Giddey. So if I'm OKC, I'm just gonna bring Luka into this action and make Lu Dort set the screen and flare out. Try to get Luka into the action. See if Luka will play Ole defense, and then you're able to get a wide open driving angle for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This possession here against the Mavericks are going to ice this ball screen. There's 11 seconds left on the shot clock. The Mavs are going to ice this ball screen and load up. So you have Tim Hardaway Jr. with a foot inside the paint. You have Maxi Kleber showing his hands off the ball, guarding Lu Dort. Kyrie is on the opposite wing. He's guarding Gordon Hayward. And on the drive, SGA, he sees the bodies, and he's just able to create a little bit of separation from Derrick Jones Jr. and hit the pull-up mid-range jumper. I don't know how much, like playing drop or trying to ice the ball screens with SGA is going to be effective in this series, because I think, honestly, the SGA, if you let him just pick his spots, which is essentially what you're doing, you're kind of just, death on arrival, right? This clip against Dallas, again, same game. The Thunder go with Miami action, which is a dribble handoff immediately into a ball screen. And again, on this ball screen, Daniel Gafford in a drop coverage here. Derek Jones does do a good job chasing, but SGA does a great job, again, playing with pace, playing with not rushing essentially off this ball screen. He's able to get to a spot, and the mid-range is just money for SGA, especially if you're allowing him to get to a spots like you would be here against drop coverage. Now here we see the Thunder go to something we kind of just talked about, which is using Giddey as a screener. They'll use Giddey, who is guarded by Daniel Gafford, as a screener. And again, Gafford's in drop coverage, and SGA knows, hey, look, I have Gafford on me in the drop. As long as Giddey does do a good job setting an effective screen, so I'm just gonna be able to attack downhill. I'm going to use my speed now to get by him, get to the rim. Honestly, probably could have gone away with the foul right there, but again, SGA, his ability to change up his speed, decelerate, accelerate, and get to the rim, or just quite simply get to his spots, is so important for his offensive game. And again, how does Dallas try to counter that heading into this series? It would be flat out wrong of me if I didn't talk about the two number two options in this series for both teams, in Jalen Williams and Kyrie Irving. And what makes them such perfect two options for the respective offenses is how they both are damn near equally effective as off-ball and on-ball creators. Jalen Williams is one of the has been throughout these playoffs, and honestly throughout the entire regular season, one of the best pull-up jump shooters in terms of efficiency in the entire league. While again being a good paint touch guy, be able to finish at the rim strong, being able to get to his spots. Again, his defense for this Thunder team is very, very important as well. Kyrie, one of the fun things that the Mavs like to do, especially if they know a team is going to overhelp on Luka on a drive, they'll put Kyrie one pass away. And Kyrie is just so freaking smart where he can either cut behind you, or if you do decide to help, Luka's smart enough, obviously, to make that one more pass over, that swing pass over to Kyrie from the opposite wing. And Kyrie's now able to either attack a wild closeout, knock down the wide open three, attack and get to the rim, etc. I think those two guys, I honestly know what I expect. And it's fun for them because they know they're probably not going to get the number one defender. I think in the last in the most recent match where the teams both cared, Kyrie played with no Luka, and he got a lot more attention. I think OKC did a good job of frustrating him. They were really able to load up defensively and load up their help on Kyrie. I don't think they'll be able to do that in this series because of having Luka out there as well. And for OKC, Derek Jones Jr. is going to get the SGA matchup most likely. So who does that now leave on Jalen Williams? You're probably talking like a Kyrie Irving, actually, who actually is a better defender than he gets credit for, but that's still, I think, a favorable matchup for Jalen Williams. One last thing that I do want to talk about is somewhat of a cheat code for this Thunder offense, and it kind of is hilarious to me how they keep getting away with it, for being quite honest with you. And it's how they're able to get these pin and flares for Chet Holmgren in early offense. So this is something that LeBron James and JJ Redick talked about in the Mind of the Game podcast. And I'm going to lose my mind if Dallas did not prepare for this. We go to game 3 of this Thunder and Pelican series. I think you could tell that New Orleans didn't prepare for this as well as they should have. Very early. This is off of a made shot for the Pelicans. SGA just come. They are both coming down the floor. Chet is going to run on the opposite side of the ball, and SGA, one of the guards, are going to set a pin and flare screen for Chet Holmgren, and Chet is able to just step in and hit the in rhythm three. This has been a cheat code for their offense all year long. Again, if you go back, we're now in game 2. Same thing. Ball gets brought up by Jalen Williams. SGA sets another pin and flare for Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren knocks down the three. I'm going to lose it if the Dallas Mavericks did not adequately prepare for this, because this has been something they've been willing to run all season long. I think Chet's ability as well to hit pick and pop threes is another reason why I don't think they're going to go Gafford on Chet. I think they want Gafford to be more of a drop big in this series. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Are the Thunder able to manufacture 3 to 6 easy points a game because the Mavericks don't want to scout and they miss something very, very easy that's been a staple of the Thunder offense all season long? That's something you have to keep an eye out on as well. So my kind of final thoughts for this series. So for one, if we were to put the starting fives against each other, here I'm what I think my matchups would be for both teams. Let's start with Dallas defensively. So the Thunder starting five is likely going to be SGA, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. To match that starting five in the lineups and the matchups I would go with, I think they're going to go Derrick Jones Jr. on SGA. I think I like the idea and some of the stuff I saw on film of Daniel Gafford guarding Josh Giddey. I did like that. Luka on Lou Dort, PJ Washington on Chet Holmgren, and Kyrie Irving on Jalen Williams. I think that's how I would play it personally. I think Kyrie on Jalen Williams is probably the only way you can go because you're playing both PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford together, which you lose some like perimeter defense there. Not too much to be concerned about, but I think Dallas is going to try to test Josh Giddey and prove that he can hit perimeter jumpers consistently. From OKC's vantage point, I think what OKC is going to do, I think they're going to go Lou Dort on Luka, obviously. I think they're actually also going to go Jalen Williams like Kyrie Irving now. I think about that. I think they're going to go with Josh Giddey on PJ Washington, I guess. Chet Holmgren on Daniel Gafford, and SGA will guard Derrick Jones Jr. That's kind of where I'm thinking. I do like the idea of Josh Giddey on PJ Washington a little bit more than SGA on PJ Washington. So what are my keys to this series for both teams? I think, for one, how does OKC, I think for them, I think actually this can go for both teams. How do both teams try to guard the other team's best players' ball screen offense? Because that is such a big staple for both teams. Obviously, SGA, his ability to create out of ISO and in ball screens. Luka, the same thing. Luka's a better passer, which is an element that, not say SGA isn't a great passer or isn't a good passer, but that's just an element that Dallas doesn't have to worry about as much as OKC does for Dallas. I think, can the role players for Dallas hit consistent shots? Maxi Kleber not being in this series is actually be a big blow, because I think if OKC at any point want to go drop coverage, a big drop beater, which is even enough to go to any set really, is just the ability to hit pick and pop threes, which is something that Chet Holmgren can do for OKC if Dallas wanted to play drop. But you kind of lose the pick and pop threat with Maxi Kleber not being available in this series. I guess you could go with that with PJ Washington, but I think they really like that with Maxi Kleber. So can the role players for Dallas hit open threes? I think schematically, obviously, can Chet Holmgren, kind of affect this series defensively as much as he did in the last series against New Orleans? And I think also Lou Dort and Jalen Williams, I think, are honestly the Lou Dort and Jalen Williams for OKC are really the trio. Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren for OKC. And then Kyrie Irving, I'm going to go Daniel Gafford and Derrick Jones Jr. for the Dallas Mavericks. I think those are the X factors of this series. And I picked those three players for each team for a particular reason. Obviously, Kyrie and Jalen Williams, we know what they can do with their scoring ability, but they're also going to be asked to defend a lot in this series. Honestly, like I said, I would expect them to guard each other quite a bit in this series. Derrick Jones Jr. and Lou Dort kind of being the guys that are going to guard the opposing team's best player, but they have to hit open threes in this series. And Derrick Jones Jr. is a much better job of attacking closeouts, which I think is the advantage he does have over Lou Dort as an offensive player. But regardless, they're both going to have to hit open shots in this series. I expect both teams, both Dallas and OKC, throughout this series to mix up coverages on Luka and SGA, and oftentimes show aggressive looks, which might leave a Derrick Jones Jr. and a Lou Dort open from three, or a Josh Giddey especially. And then Daniel Gafford and Chet Holmgren, their ability to just protect the rim and be such good screeners for their on-ball star in Luka and SGA. Honestly, whichever team can get the better performance out of that trio, I think is going to win this series. It's prediction time. I don't feel good about this. I think it went OKC in 7 on my Twitter post. I think I'm going to change that, and I think I'm going to go with Dallas in 7. I don't feel good about this. This is going to be such a good series. I'm so excited for this matchup. Game 1 tips off tonight, so this is a great preview for that matchup. I'm going to be doing breakdowns throughout this series as well. So make sure you guys do subscribe right here to the channel. Turn on those post notification bells as well if you want more great content. You guys can follow me on X at Sean_DAVI. I'll put my Twitter bio as well in my Twitter handle in the description down below. Till next, everybody. See ya. Stay safe and peace out.